Lincoln lost. Success is never achieved alone. It is achieved through people and by understanding people. The greatest leaders, the richest minds, the most influential visionaries, they all mastered one secret, the ability to look into the soul of another and instantly understand their motives, fears, and desires. Lincoln lost. In the next few minutes, I'm going to hand you the lens through which great minds see the world. And when you learn to understand anyone instantly, success becomes inevitable. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin where all understanding must begin, not with what is said, but with what is meant. You see, most people listen with their ears, but leaders, visionaries, and those who rise above the masses, they listen with something deeper. They listen with edge perception. And perception, my friends, is power. Words can lie. Lincoln lost. Words can mislead. But intent, true intent, never does. The man who says, "I'm fine," while his shoulders are slumped and his eyes are downcast, is you not fine. The woman who smiles as she speaks but clenches her jaw is not at ease. The employee who nods in agreement but taps his foot and avoids eye contact is not aligned. Why? Lincoln lost because what the body speaks what the mind cannot ideo. If you wish to understand anyone instantly, start training your mind to observe ebb beneath the surface. Lincoln lost. People are constantly leaking truth. Through tone, pace, through posture. Every action is a message. Every pause a punctuation. Every silence a story. But the majority walk through life distracted, defied by noise, blind to the subtle, and fooled by appearances. They take people at face value, and face value, my friends, Lincoln lost, is a cheap currency. When you walk into a room and meet someone new, don't ask yourself, what are they saying? Ask, Lincoln lost, or what are they really trying to communicate? There's always something behind the words. A desire, a fear, an agenda, a hope. If you can hear that silent message, Lincoln lost, you will see them more clearly than they see themselves. That is how great persuaders lead. Lincoln lost. That is how the world's most successful men and women build unshakable alliances. They read the invisible lines between the spoken words. Now, how can lost one sharpen perception? How does one master this art of reading intent? First, by mastering stillness. Quiet your inner chatter long enough to truly observe. Lincoln lost. Most people don't listen. They wait for their turn to speak. But when you become still, you begin to see what others miss. Lincoln lost. You begin to catch the shift in voice when they talk about a subject they care about. You notice the hesitation when they mention a person they distrust. Lincoln lost. You feel the tension behind their practiced smile. Second, by mastering curiosity without judgment. The moment you judge a person, you stop perceiving them accurately. Lincoln lost. Your own bias clouds the lens. But when you stay curious, you allow yourself to see them as they are, not as you assume they are. And the more you do this, Lincoln lost, the sharper your instincts become. Over time, you'll begin to feel when someone is hiding something. You'll sense when someone is desperate for approval, terrified of rejection or craving connection, and you'll respond not to their words, but to their needs. And third, by mastering emotional control. If your own emotions run wild, your perception will always be distorted. Fear makes you see threats where there are none. Ego makes you miss warning signs. But when you remain calm, balanced, and inwardly steady, your perception becomes laser-focused. You become the one in the room who sees all and says little, and yet knows more than anyone else. This is not magic. This is not manipulation. This is a discipline, a learned skill, strategic advantage, and it will give you what few people ever possess, you inside of. The power to walk into any negotiation, any relationship, any conversation, and instantly understand who you're dealing with, what drives them, what scares them, Lincoln lost, and what they are likely to do next. Once you've trained yourself to listen beyond words, you will stop reacting to what people say and start responding to who they are. Lincoln lost. You'll know when to pause, when to retreat, and when to lead boldly. You'll no longer be confused by mixed signals, misled by charm. Lincoln lost, or manipulated by surface-level talk. You'll be anchored in truth, guided by perception, and equipped with the most rare and valuable ability in the world. Lincoln lost, instant, understanding you. Perception is not seeing more, it's seeing you deeper. And once you can do that, you no longer guess at people's motives. Lincoln lost. Now that your eyes are trained to see beyond words, the next step is to understand why people do what they do. Because every action, every decision, every response, it all flows from one powerful source within each person you motig. And here's the truth. Everyone has a dominant motive. Everyone. Lincoln lost. The key to understanding anyone instantly is not just reading their behavior, but identifying the who engine behind it. When you know someone's dominant motive, you no longer chase clarity. You have it. You no longer guess what drives them. You understand it. People are not as complicated as they appear. They may seem unpredictable. Lincoln lost, but they're not. Their actions over time follow a clear path, shaped and steered by what they want most. And what they want most often falls into one of a few core motives: recognition, security, love, power, freedom, or growth. Some people crave recognition. They want to be seen, applauded, acknowledged, not because they're arrogant, but because deep down being seen means being valued. You'll know them by how they light up when praised. Lincoln lost, how they push hard when others are watching, how they shrink when ignored. If you understand this motive, you know how to reach them, inspire them, and lead them. Lincoln others move through life driven by a need for security, financial, emotional, physical. These people are planners. They're cautious, sometimes hesitant. Lincoln lost. They will not leap unless the ground looks solid beneath them. They avoid risk, not because they lack courage, but because stability is their success. When you meet someone like this, don't mistake their pause for weakness. Their loyalty once earned is unshakable, because safety to them is sacred. Then there are those who are ruled by the need for love and connection. They're relationship-centered. They value harmony, unity, and shared moments more than personal gain. To them, winning means winning together. They'll compromise to preserve peace, and they'll work themselves to the bone to protect a bond. But if you ignore or isolate them, Lincoln lost, they'll retreat or rebel. Understand this, and you can create alliances that last a lifetime. Power is another motive, and a strong one. Not the corrupt kind, Lincoln lost, but the kind that fuels leadership, influence, and control over one's destiny. These individuals aim high. They take charge. They want results. Lincoln lost, and they want to be at the center of the storm. They don't fear responsibility. They crave it. Challenge them, and they'll rise. Restrict them, and they'll resist. But respect their drive, and they'll move mountains. Then we have the seekers of freedom. These are the dreebles, the creators. They value independence above all. Give them room to breathe, and they will thrive. Box them in, and they will vanish. Their loyalty is not tied to rules or titles. It's tied to the space you give them to express themselves. They move fast, they pivot often. Lincoln lost, and they flourish in environments that honor choice. And finally, the motive of growth. A quiet but profound hunger. These people are driven by evolution. They want to be better. Stronger, smarter, more capable. They're not driven by applause, but by progress. They'll read, learn, fail, repeat, all in pursuit of mastery. Lincoln lost. They don't care about looking good. They care about becoming great. Speak to their potential, not their past, and they'll follow you into the fire. Lincoln lost. So how do you find a person's dominant motive? Listen to what they celebrate. Notice what they defend. Pay attention to where they spend their time, energy, and attention. Observe what lights them up and what shuts them down. People always reveal their motives, not in one moment, but in patterns. Over time, the truth surfaces. You simply have to be willing to see it. And once you do, everything changes. You'll know what to say to inspire them. You'll know what not to say to avoid alienating them. Lincoln lost. You'll see their challenges not as obstacles, but as expressions of motive under pressure. Lincoln lost, and you'll become someone who doesn't just interact with people, you understands them. The moment you can see the motive, you no longer see confusion. You see a compass. If you truly wish to understand someone instantly, to reach them, move them, influence them, then you must do more than observe or analyze. You must enter their world. You must mirror their mind. You must feel what they feel, think where they think, and stand, if only for a moment, in their shoes. This, my friends, is not weakness. Lincoln lost. This is not sentimentality. This is you strategy. Because nothing creates instant connection faster than true empathy. And in that connection lies power. Lincoln lost. Most people confuse empathy with agreement. But to mirror another's mind doesn't mean you endorse their beliefs or approve of their behavior. It means you understand why they believe, or why they behave. You reflect their thoughts not to imitate them, but to influence them. You connect to their inner world so you can lead them out of confusion, fear, or resistance, and toward clarity, trust, and alignment. This is the move most miss. Lincoln lost. They try to change minds without entering them. They speak from their own point of view, never realizing that the other person is speaking from an entirely different map of the world. And so they talk past each other. Arguments arise. Misunderstandings take root, and all progress halts. But if you want to lead someone, sell to someone, inspire someone, or build something with someone, you cannot expect them to step into your mind until you've first made the effort to step into theirs. This is the art of mirroring. Lincoln lost. And it begins with listening, not just to their words, but to the emotion behind them. When they speak with urgency, you respond with understanding. When they speak with doubt, you respond with steadiness. When they express excitement, you match their enthusiasm. That alignment is the beginning of influence. There is a principle I want you to remember. Lincoln lost. A people move with those who move like them. When someone feels seen, they open up. When someone feels heard, they trust. When someone feels mirrored, not mimic. Lincoln lost. They become receptive. This is why great communicators don't just speak clearly, they connect deeply. Lincoln lost. They attune themselves to the rhythm of the other's mind. And it's not just in conversation. It's in presence, in posture, in tone, In energy, lost. You've been in rooms where you felt instantly comfortable with someone. Why? Because they were attuned to you. They gave you the space to be yourself. Lincoln lost. They didn't rush to fix you, correct you, or outshine you. They reflected you, and that reflection made you feel safe. Empathy creates that space. It softens defenses. Lincoln lost. It opens closed minds. It builds bridges where before there were walls. But understand this, empathy is not weakness. It's precision. It's the fastest way to learn what someone truly wants. And once you know what they want, you know how to speak to them. You can guide them without pressure. You can influence without force. Now, to mirror someone's mind requires more than intuition. It requires self-awareness. Lincoln lost because you can't reflect another if your own mind is cluttered with ego, fear, or impatience. You must be willing to quiet your internal voice long enough to hear theirs. Lincoln lost. You must learn to step outside your perspective, even if only briefly, to grasp theirs. When you do, you'll see something remarkable. Lincoln lost. People are far less mysterious than they appear. Once you understand their motive and reflect their mindset, they become transparent. You begin to anticipate what they'll say. Lincoln lost, how they'll respond, and what they need to hear in order to grow. In the world of leadership, in the world of relationships, Lincoln lost. In the world of influence, empathy is not a soft skill. It is the sharpest tool you can wield. Because when you learn to mirror a person's mind, Lincoln lost, you earn something rare and invaluable, their trust. And with trust, there are no limits to what you can build together. When you master this, Lincoln lost, you stop talking at people and begin speaking you into them. In our pursuit to understand others instantly, we must be careful not to confuse charm for character. Lincoln lost, appearance for substance, or ornamental gestures for lasting values. Many are fooled by what a man seems to be. Lincoln lost, not realizing what he truly is, can only be known through one thing: repetition. Because character, my friends, is not what someone says once or does once. Lincoln lost. Character is what they do over and over again, especially when they believe no one is watching. The world is full of people skilled in performance. Lincoln lost. They know how to smile at the right time, how to say the right words, how to put on the mask that wins favor. But time reveals what talent conceals. A single act can be a show. Lincoln lost. A pattern of behavior is the truth. If someone shows you who they are once, be curious. If they show you who they are twice, take note. Lincoln lost. But if they show you who they are repeatedly, through choices, habits, reactions under stress, that is no longer just behavior. That is their character. Lincoln lost. You cannot truly understand a person through appearance because appearance is managed. It is curated. It is the version of themselves they want you to see. Lincoln lost, but patterns don't lie. Repetition strips away illusion and exposes reality. Watch how someone treats people when there's nothing to gain. Watch how they behave when plans fall apart or when power shifts. Watch what they return to again and again. Those are the fingerprints of their true nature. In this world, we're taught to judge quickly. First impressions, snap decisions. We're told to trust our gut based on a look, a tone, a posture. And while instinct is value, it is not final. True understanding comes through observation over time. It comes through noticing who keeps their word and who only promises, who shows up not once in a while, but always. Lincoln laxed with anger at the first sign of challenge and who remains composed under fire. These are not accidents. These are habits. And habits are the architecture of character. Lincoln lost. If you want to form powerful partnerships, build loyal teams, or form lasting relationships, then you must discipline yourself to look beyond the surface. You must ask what do they consistently choose when no one is looking? What values do they default to when pressure rises? Because what someone does once may be performance. Lincoln lost. What they do consistently is principle. And this rule applies not just to others, but to yourself. If you want to understand your own nature, Lincoln lost. Stop asking how you feel in the moment and start noticing what you do repeatedly. Are you someone who speaks of goals or someone who acts on them? Do you make decisions based on values or convenience? Do you respond to adversity with excuses or with resolve? Lincoln lost. Your patterns are telling your story, even when your words say something else. The highest form of understanding is to see people as they are, not as they present themselves. Lincoln lost, but this takes discipline. It requires that you step back from emotional reaction and step into clear-eyed observation. People will always tell you who they are, not with words. Lincoln lost, but with repetition. The friend who shows up late again and again is telling you where their priorities lie. Lincoln lost. The leader who blames others every time there's failure is showing you their lack of accountability. The partner who lies once may deserve a second chance, but if the lie becomes a habit, that is no longer error. That is identity. Repetition is the great revealer. It exposes truth where charm hides it. It clarifies intent where appearances distort it. If you build your life around the surface of people, you will be disappointed. But if you build it on patterns, on demonstrated character, you will find yourself surrounded by loyalty, integrity, and strength. Do not be deceived by the moment. Lincoln lost. Judge nothing until you've seen the pattern. Now that you've heard the truth, that perception reveals intent. That motive is the engine behind every action. Lincoln lost that empathy is not weakness but strategy, and that true character is proven only through repetition. The question is not, can you understand others instantly? Lincoln lost, but will you discipline yourself to see what most ignore? This is not about manipulation, it's about mastery. Mastery of people, relationships, and influence. Lincoln, when you combine awareness with observation and empathy with precision, you become unstoppable in communication, unshakable in leadership, and unforgettable in presence. So I urge you, train your perception, seek the motive, mirror the mind, and measure the pattern. Because once you learn to truly understand anyone instantly, Lincoln lost, you will no longer react to the world, you will move it.